However, yet you hear more planes approaching. Look up, flying to the skies, enemy bombers circling in front close. One on the way, everybody. We're still in trouble. Two torpedoes from a class they have underneath your boat, and they're headed for the audience for them. So look out! And cut. What do you guys think? Let's give them a round of applause. Let's go ahead and see all of those. It sounds like we have just
California. We included sound stages, recording studios, high-tech editing rooms, all the tools needed to create movies, TV shows, and radio broadcasts. We've even got our very own water tower, too. It's up ahead on the left side of our shuttle. We call it the Earful Tower. It's inspired by the water tower Walt Disney had built for his Burbank studio in 1939. Our Florida tower stands a lucky 13 stories high, and we added our own creative touch, a giant set of Mickey Mouse ears. If you wanted to wear those ears, you'd have to have a hat size of 342 3/8. Up ahead, after the next bend in the road, you'll have a perfect opportunity to take a picture of this famous icon. In the world of entertainment, every project starts with a screenplay and a lot of creative ideas. A production studio is where the ideas of writers, producers, and directors are transformed into an on-screen reality. Within these huge spaces, filmmakers can literally create their own world. A few well-placed plants can cover up empty spots in the set and add a touch of natural beauty to a scene. On the right are two of the aircraft from the 2001 blockbuster hit Pearl Harbor. These exact full-scale replicas of P-40 fighters were used in the special effect fight sequences. Of course, many of the planes we saw flying through the aerial battles or sitting on the ground weren't real at all. They were created entirely within a computer. Oh, keep your cameras focused to the right. We're coming up in that perfect angle of the Earful Tower I told you about. It's a true masterpiece. We're entering one of our most glamorous and colorful departments, creative costuming. Every star has to have just the right wardrobe, and it all begins here with a designer's sketch. Our team of designers, seamstresses, and tailors can turn 1.5 million yards of fabric into over 25,000 costumes every year. Many of these costumes will become part of the shows and attractions of the Walt Disney World Resort. In fact, here in Florida, we have the largest working wardrobe department in the world, where Mickey Mouse alone has over 175 different outfits to choose from, while Minnie Mouse keeps more than 200 unique costumes in her wardrobe. On the left are costumes worn by the stars in recent studio productions. You'll probably recognize some of those costumes from the big screening shop where large-scale sets and props are built. Our team of set designers, carpenters, artists, and engineers has created caves and caverns and NASA's Mission Control, all on our sound stages. The shop also provides sets and props for our shows and parades here at Walt Disney World. The same skill and craftsmanship that goes into a movie set can also be used to create magic for our parks. Either way, it's all about making dreams come true.
Yeah, I saw them. It's called a topiary, something like that made out of a special thing.
Now we're entering a zone we call the Boneyard. It's an outdoor storage area for oversized props and vehicles. Cars, trucks, boats, planes, we often save these props in case we need them for future production. In this Backlot collection, you may find real working vehicles, non-working mock-ups, and even large-scale miniatures used in special effects shots. Large-scale models create a more convincing illusion on camera. We even place small cutout passengers in the windows of the plane. We're now passing by the sets for our lights, motors, action, extreme stunt show. On the left, you may catch a glimpse of the Mediterranean fishing village that sets the stage for this thrilling attraction. We'll get a closer look at it soon, but for now, we're approaching one of the largest standing sets on our back lot. It's over on the right. It may not look like much from this angle, but it's pretty spectacular on the other side. This is great, folks. The production crew has just given us clearance to enter the set.
Hello, Backlot Tour. I'm Amy, a production coordinator here at the studios. I can see your shuttle heading toward our canyon set. I've given your driver permission to come in and take a look around. I'm up here with our events crew, and we're getting ready to shoot a test sequence. Oh, on the way in, you're going to be crossing a wooden bridge, and things may get a little bumpy, so please, hold on to your belongings, especially hats, cameras, and glasses, and keep an eye on any small children in your party. And of course, please remain seated at all times. Welcome to the set. As you can see, we brought the bare, dry desert from Southern California to green, typically humid Central Florida. This set is based on real locations that our production designer took pictures of. Our set crew spent about 6 months building the canyon, but we've used it for a number of TV shows and specials over the years. For our upcoming production, the script called for a tender truck. We found this one in our backyard, but it was too big to drive into place. So we picked it up with a crane and set it down here. We're up on the overhead platform, and I see our director has arrived. As soon as the rain effect is ready, we'll begin the sequence. This sudden shower is really just a special effect. We rigged up a series of water nozzles used to under trim. The water sprayed in a crisp-hot pattern to create a sense of depth, but this storm only covers the first few feet of the set. Okay, it's showtime. Everybody stay seated. Hang on to your belongings and watch your children. By now, you've probably figured out why we call it the Catastrophe Canyon. Now, let's spend behind the scenes. Find out how this spectacular sequence is created. The canyon itself is facade, a steel structure covered with wire mesh and layers of concrete, sculpted and painted to look like a natural rock formation. Narrow yellow pipes carry propane gas fuel the explosions and fire effects. For the flash flood, we used 100% real water, about 70,000 gallons of it, dumped from overhead tanks. Oh, but don't worry, we recycle. All of that water will be pumped right back up to the top for the next take. We shoot some of the water through air cannons for an extra dynamic effect. Those air cannons are powerful enough to shoot a basketball over the top of a skyscraper the size of the Empire State Building. To top it off, our shuttle was sitting on hydraulic shaker tables. They provided the shaking, rattling, and rolling sensations for the scene. The entire sequence can be reset in 3.5 minutes. That's just enough time to bring in the next shuttle. Well, I've got to get ready for our next take. Thank you all for being part of the action. Hey, I'm needed back on the set, so enjoy the rest of your tour.
Okay, well, thanks, folks. Stream 1 was known at airports across the country as November 234 Mickey Mouse, but we just call it the Mouse. In 1964, Walt Disney and his hand-picked team used this plane to scout locations for what he called the Florida Project. Soon, they secretly began purchasing thousands of acres of land, which became the Walt Disney World Resort in 1971. During the creation of the resort and later Epcot, the Mouse shuttled studio executives and Imagineers between Burbank and Orlando, making it the most used executive aircraft in the country. Appropriately, the Mouse retired here in 1992. As Walt used to say, it was all started by a mouse. In this case, the 234 Mickey Mouse.
Thank you so much for coming down here.
On our right, we once again sweep past the magnificent Mediterranean village of our lights, motors, action extreme stunt show. This high-octane attraction is based on the hit show from the Walt Disney Studios Park in France. In this action-packed production, you'll feel like you're right there on the set during the filming of a spy thriller. These with custom-built cars, motorcycles, even jet skis. You'll experience the split-second timing, coordinated driving, and fiery special effects that make action movies a real blast. The staging area to our right is known as acceleration tower. Here, the custom-built stunt show vehicles rev their engines up to 70 miles an hour before making their high-speed for our lights, motors, action, and stunt show. A very professional stunt run. We hope you'll enjoy the daring driving skills, but please don't try them yourself. On the left, we've reached our second bonus with more historic props and vehicles. When we reuse older props in new production, they're often refitted with custom parts and given a whole new color scheme. You might not even recognize them the next time you see them on screen. For his next starring role. On our right, we now have a very different view of the fishing village set. From this point of view, you can see that there is no inside of the building. They are just false fronts or facades. In the movie business, set builders only create what the camera has to see. It's an old movie trick dating all the way back to the silent era. To add to the sense of realism and avoid the cost of set building, many of today's television shows and movies film on location in cities and towns across the U.S. But out in the real world, you've got to contend with noise, traffic, crowds, and various visual elements that may or may not belong in your film. Here on the Backlot, we can avoid these problems because we created our very own flexible urban environment. Our Streets of America facades can stand in for a small town or a giant metropolis. As we come around the last corner on our route, you'll see the skyline of New York City in the distance. It's really a series of painted flats, expertly designed to fool the eye and the camera. We can dress and decorate these streets to look like any city we want, from Chicago to San Francisco. Depending on the choice of vehicles, props, and costumes, we can even turn back the clock and set our story in a different time. And what's more, these sets are built with Florida weather in mind. They're made to withstand 100-mile-an-hour winds. You're welcome to visit our Streets of America anytime during your visit today and get an up-close look at the skills of our set designers and builders. We've just about reached the end of our tour. Our final stop is the American Film Institute Showcase, where you can see the actual costumes and movie props used in some of Hollywood's most famous films. There are some pretty amazing items in there, so feel free to take all the time you like. Please.
creation of Davy Jones was a long and difficult process requiring the hard work and ingenuity of many different departments. Modeling, painting, rigging, animation, R&D, and TDs all had a hand in bringing this character to life. Since Davy would most often be seen in tight close-ups delivering dialogue, a great deal of time and attention was given to the fine details of his face. Fine wrinkles, scars, barnacles, and general crustiness were added as displacement maps created in ZBrush. Much of the character of Davy's face comes from the sense of history that these details suggest. Davy's facial animation system was extensive. Modelers created hundreds of controls for the animators to use in order to convey the subtlety and complexity of the human face. Special care was given to the eyes, as this is where the attention of the audience is most often focused. A procedural approach was required to bring to life the 46 tentacles of Davy's beard. The tentacles needed to collide with one another, react to forces, and have a life of their own. The level of realism required and the complexity of the movement ruled out a keyframe approach. Since Davy's performance began with Bill Nighy on set, it was important that the acting choices Bill made be represented faithfully in Davy Jones. For this reason, an on-set motion capture process was created. It allowed Bill to create his performance during first unit photography, rather than on a motion capture stage at a separate time. Since Davy and Bill have very different faces, it was necessary to transform Bill's facial performance into Davy's. This was a creative task, one we felt best left to animators, who as actors would have a sensitivity to Bill's intention as an actor, rather than merely the mechanics of his facial movement. For this reason, Davy's facial performance was keyframed by animators rather than by using a facial motion capture